Live. All right, cool. All right, let's do it. Good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time of day you're tuning in. If you're tuning in live, or if you're tuning in on the Move Swiftly podcast, give me a moment here. Let's get everything shared out online, streaming, and all that good stuff, and we're gonna get this one. Cool. Facebook, what's happening? We're good. We're good. We're good. And LinkedIn, let's get it going on LinkedIn real quick, and we're gonna get this thing. There we go. And let me repost that. All right, LinkedIn, we're good. And all that good stuff. LinkedIn, we're straight. All right, let's get on YouTube. And turn up, baby. Turn up. It's time to go. Time to get better. Time to be great. Time to be great. Tell you every day, you got to make the conscious decision to either get better or you're getting worse. You're not staying the same. Say it again, nice and slow. It's you're either getting better or you're getting worse every single day. Say it again, nice and slow. It's you're either getting better, getting worse. Every day, you got to make the conscious decision to get better or you're going to be getting worse. One of the two. You are not staying the same, plain and simple. So, as you can see, I consciously make the decision to get better day in and day out. All right. So before I get started today, it's going to be sort of a recap day, seeing that it's Thursday and we have been talking all about personal and professional alignment. So we're going to kind of recap what we've been talking about all week. And since it is the last full week of the month, believe it or not, yes, we are getting ready to get up into May, a week from today. We're going to start to really get into some of the goals for next month and also be sort of understanding the importance of aligning long-term, short-term goals, defining long-term goals, defining short-term goals, making sure you're working with people as you're developing goals and figuring out what it is your next steps are going to be, your next phase, your next season, how you're going to approach your next season, how you're going to make sure everything that you do is in collaboration with positive minded people that are also taking you in the direction where you want your life to be going. So we're going to dive into a little bit of all of that today. Before we get started, though, let me just introduce myself and then get through some announcements for anybody that may be new around here. First and foremost, my name, As One Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. What I've created, what this business is all about, is what Move Swiftly, the name of the business is Move Swiftly. What the brand is all about is taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners and organizations so they have a staff, they have a group of employees that moves as efficiently and as coherent and is aggressive. Like I'm talking about absolutely eager and passionate, that same passion that you would see in a championship high school football team or a championship youth football team. We want to create that culture in the work and the business environment. So that's what we do. I do, one of my superpowers is translating that energy, translating that culture into the business culture and being able to merge the two and figure out how everyone just continues to improve. So that's what we do around here in a nutshell. So first and foremost, again, let's get through some announcements and we'll get right into the topic. If you are in the West Palm Beach area and you are interested in free boxing lessons, it's coming up actually this weekend. If you're interested in free boxing lessons, I do those every 2 weeks. If you're looking at this on either YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, just hit the QR code that you see right there on the screen. Or if you are tuning into this on the Move Swiftly podcast, go to freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. That's freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. As mentioned, business owners, if you have not yet, be sure to go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. It is very, very easy. It might take you 15 seconds to just put in your name, put in your information, put in the email, and you will be sent a free guide on how to use innovative teamwork to reduce the turnover. We are trying to reduce turnover in your business. You can only reduce turnover when you have a system set up in which everybody coming in knows the expectation and they walk in every day knowing the goals, the measurables, the things that they need to be hitting every day, and they're getting better. But they're not in a situation where they're reacting to things. We don't want to put employees in situations in which they're reacting to potential things that can get them fired. We want them being proactive and being proactive problem solvers. All right. Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna jot that one down. A proactive, this is me. I don't want nobody taking this one. Proactive. Now you guys see how I get so many ideas. Problem. You like how it rolls off the tongue? Solver. Ooh, I like that. That's me right there. I'm taking that. I wrote it down. Yes, you want them proactive. Yeah, I gotta put that somewhere. It's some marketing right there, baby. Become a proactive problem solver. Oh, that's me. All right. So freeguide.makeitmove.com, freeguide.makeitmove.com. Make sure you go and check that out. And finally, make sure you tap into the Patreon, patreon.com/AsWon44. You can join at the regular season, the preseason, or the postseason, depending on where you are financially in your business. We have something for everyone. And all of that is available on makeyourmove.com. That is MakeYamove.com. If you're looking at this on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, you see you could shop, you could join the Patreon, you could book me to speak, or you could just learn more about me, or just listen to one of the episodes of those fantastic episodes of the Move Swiftly podcast. And you could also get a workshop, get an employee development workshop, all on that one website. All right. So let's get into what we're going to be discussing today. All right. Because we have been talking all week. So let's go over let's first of all, let's break it all down. All right. Monday, we started with, let's see if I still have to have it. It has to be here. Monday, we started with what the first question, the kickoff this week was, what percentage should your personal and professional life merge? That was the first question that I posed Monday. I personally said, hey, I'm 100% person, but I'm not going to tell you what your answer should be because, again, it's not my place. But me personally, given the way I grew up, given the kind of examples that I had of men and, my parents and my sister and all the things that I lived through growing up playing a sport that was incredibly popular for some really high profile coaches and programs that became nationally known. For me, I was able to see how your personal and your professional life can merge 100% of the time. So that was my answer on Monday. Tuesdays, top five ways to align your personal and your professional life. Remember, we discussed there's a certain mix that you have to have. There's a certain mix that you have to have. And actually, before I get started on Tuesday, I want to make sure I re-mention what I said Monday when it comes to the percentage. When it comes to the percentage of your personal and your professional life, you have to have thought about the question. You have to have thought about the number long before you meet, whether it is a romantic relationship, a significant other, or even if it's just a friendship, doesn't matter what it is. You have to make sure you have thought about how you want your personal and your professional life merging together before you enter into a partnership with anybody. Like I said, friends, romantic, I don't give a shit what it is. It has to be thought about before you start letting people in your inner circle. And that led to Tuesday's discussion, where it was top 5 ways to align your personal and professional life. Remember, we started off with number 1 was physical activity. Number 2 was books. Number 3 was educational fun. All right, educational fun. Shout out to mom on that. I called my mom yesterday. She didn't sound very enthusiastic about the fact that I was mentioning my significant other, just so I was dealing with that. But I'd remind her, I'm like, hold up now, Ma, I talked about you very high spoke. I speak about you on multiple occasions very highly. So she had to kind of humble herself when it comes to that. But when it comes to educational fun, I want to re-emphasize that story because it actually is a very important story. is when my sister was in college. She went to the University of Maryland, and we were waiting for her to do something. I think it was around the graduation time. And the fact that she pointed out that this was a group of students who were studying, but they looked like they were having fun, but at the end of the day, they were studying. That's what I mean when I say educational fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun and doing it in an educational manner. I think the myth that we've been given, the problem that has been created within our own society, is that they have separated this fun and education. They've separated it to make you think as a young person that the two can't merge, when it's clearly not the case. You can be having a ton of fun with whoever it is you want to be having fun with, and learning something in the process, and studying for a certain exam, and doing things that are going to get yourself better. That's what I mean. So we talked about top 5 ways of aligning your personal and your professional life. Number 1 was the physical activity. Number 2, because we get people out of their comfort zone. Number 2 was reading books, getting information together. Number 3 was educational fun. Number 4 was food, right? Breaking bread. And number 5 was a personal favorite of mine. Obviously, going to sporting events, seeing how the community reacts, seeing what's going on, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we discussed Tuesday. And then yesterday, Wintrepreneur Wednesday. I'll let you in a little bit on Alex Hormozi, and some of the things I've been learning as I've been tuning into his book and his offers, and how that helped create a better offer for my business. And again, this is what I mean when I say your top 5, like your personal and your professional lives aligning in so many different ways. And the person, when it comes to Alex Hormozi, the reason his content is resonating so much with myself is because I have a background in fitness. I've worked in the fitness industry long before this education stuff came about, and I started putting out books and intellectual property and all that stuff. And when you listen to Alex Hormozi and the way he connects the two, it's clear that, hey, this lady right here, Layla, was the reason for his success. And he has said it in his books. He said, look, the thing I had when I started out was a woman who believed in me, and the idea, the ambition, and the goals to do some great, incredible things. So that's been the week so far. So today we are gonna get clear on my personal and professional goals from a macro standpoint, from a long-term standpoint, and how it doesn't matter, it needs to be clarified exactly what they are. And since we are in the last month, so again, for those of you who don't know, I've made the decision, this is we've been doing this for now 3 months at this point. I think I started it around February, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to go back and look at it right now, because I don't want to waste time or anything like that. I'm limiting myself. I'm making sure I'm keeping myself on track when it comes to these things. But what I do is the last Monday of every month is I jot down my monthly goals. All right. So this Monday coming up, in addition to the Make It Move kickoff question, there will also be monthly goals for May. All right. So what I'll do is I'm going to go back. We're going to do this live. We're going to go do this live because I made the promise last month. I made the promise to go back and look at my monthly goals, because the previous month, there were things that I did that I had time to do, but because I didn't go back and look at the monthly goals, then that messed me up. And there were certain things that I didn't hit when it comes to hitting your goals and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do this publicly. We're going to do this live and on camera to make sure I'm being held accountable, holding myself accountable for my own self-determination and my own ambition. And then in turn, once we get through that, understand monthly goals are short term. What I want to make sure we transition into in the conversations that we have is how we clarify long-term goals, because when you understand the difference between long-term and short-term goals, what I've been learning, I'm literally in the process of learning this myself, is that it is so much about a give and take. It's much more about how you can serve and help and be a blessing to others and be a blessing to the people that you want to build a long-term relationship with. Your long-term goals are going to now be mixed and aligned with another person. Again, I'm not just saying it has to be from a romantic standpoint. That's obviously the most common way, but at the same time, it's also going to be in your work relationships. It's going to happen in your friendships. It's going to happen in all facets of life. It's like, I was just chatting, it was a couple weeks ago, back when Duke was playing in the Elite Eight. So it was last month. In the last month, when I caught up with my boy Danny Parker. He's actually been on the show. He played at Duke, so every time around March, I'm always shooting him a text like, "What up?" Now we are currently neighbors out here in West Palm Beach, and crazy how life works like that. But anyway, we were talking, and he has a son now that is 1 year old. And as we were leaving and, kind of catching up, done catching up and all that kind of stuff, he was telling me like, the people now that he has in his life, if they don't have kids or if they don't have a situation where they're trying to raise a family, if their priorities aren't where my priorities are, then there's no point in being around them. There's no point in actually maintaining a relationship with them. And then when you're talking about raising a family, these are long-term goals, long-term established goals, long-term things that you want to be doing and looking down, 10, 15 years down the line. It's going to be more so about how you work with people as opposed to just what you want to get out of a short-term goal. So that's what we're going to be clarifying today. And it's very, very incredibly applicable to you as a business owner, because if you don't get clear on these things, I'm telling you right now, as time goes on, people develop, relationships develop, folks will leave. All right. Employees, staff members, the folks that have grown tired of your bullshit. All right. They will leave. They will leave. They will find a better situation. And eventually you will be out of it. You will be out of business because you don't have the ability to develop with people. You don't have the ability to make sure you're constantly growing. You're thinking that you hired one person this day, and then 2 or 3 years from now, they're going to be the same type of person. It doesn't work like that. Like I said at the beginning of this show, I said, everyone's either getting better or they're getting worse every single day. It's under your lead, and your leadership has a great deal to do with that. I'll say it again. Everyone's either getting better or they're getting worse every day. And it's your leadership that has a great deal to do with it. It is your leadership, depending on how well you are as a leader, is going to dictate how well a person is developing. Are we clear? Do I need to say it for the people in the back? Okay. Your leadership is going to dictate how far a person or how much a person's actually developing and getting better and moving towards the next level. All right. So first and foremost, let's get into it before I go on another tangent. So this is, as you can see, March 31st, 2025. Last Monday was the last Monday of last month. What makes you exceptional? Yeah, because I remember that week, actually, we were talking about being exceptional. What's the exception? All that kind of stuff, right? So here we go. Welcome to the final Make You Move Monday kickoff question of March. We're going to dive right into the heart of it. What makes you exceptional? Personal, very real place. Before we get into April, I want to reflect past month as a part of accountability. On the last Monday of each month, I revisit the goals and I set and assess how well I did. If you missed the kickoff, oh, good, perfect. All right. If you missed the kickoff article for March's goals, you can check it out here. Embrace it. All right. So real quick, let me go back to March's goals. So this was it. Yeah. So March's goals was this, as you can see. Right. So I started it here, February. And then, yeah, okay, I got you. Posted. All right, I got you. Yeah. See, that was the problem. Let me see if I have it written here. So how did I do it? Yeah, here we go. All right. So let me read this, like this beginning of this, and then you're gonna start to see the point of me bringing this up, because it's something that can be easily missed if you're not careful. It could be easily missed if you're not getting clear on the people in your life, the people that you choose to bring in your life. This is the kind of stuff that's gonna that refines. It refines. It can either refine what it is you're trying to do, or it can just completely make it so you're completely forget it. One of the two, and it's up to you based on who you're letting in your inner circle, based on who you're letting in your inner sanctum. So listen to this carefully. Again, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this with anybody that you think needs to hear this talk or hear this message. All right. So embracing constant improvement, my 3 P's monthly goals. All right. So how did I do? Well, I missed one, and not because I couldn't achieve it, but because I forgot it was even on the list. All right. So real quick, matter of fact, let me back up a little bit. So because I want to make sure I repeat. I want to make sure I give you guys some context here. February 2024. I mean, February 24th, 2025. That was the last Monday of February, and this is when I started it, right? So the 3 goals were, I'm reading it directly from the article. Okay, this is written down. The 3 goals. Goal number 1 was to write the intro in chapters 1, 2, and 3 of How to Be a Wintrepreneur. Goal number 2 was to host or secure an event to host. And goal number 3 was to attract members to my Patreon. That was the goal going into March. All right. Now, once I got to March, then I had to set up with some goals going into April. All right. So that's what I'm reading from right now. So reading directly from the article, it says, so how did I do? Well, I missed one, and not because I couldn't achieve it, but because I forgot it was even on the list. That's on me. As it turns out, I thought I was only supposed to write the intro to my upcoming book, How to Be a Wintrepreneur. But when I revisited the article, I saw it clearly said, write the intro and chapters 1, 2, and 3. That this was an important reminder. Don't just set goals, revisit them, which is what I'm doing right now. Ironically, my April goals include writing chapters 1, 2, and 3 again, this time with a clearer mind, more thoughtful pacing, and stronger intention. So while I didn't check it off for March, I'm actually in a better position to execute it well this time. And just for the record, I have done chapters 1 and 2. I just have one more to get through this weekend, and I would have officially been able to check that off the box. So let's read a couple more. Recently, mother to become for a year. Okay, so I'm gonna skip that part because that was more on the exceptional end. So here are the April goals. That energy in mind. Here are the goals I have for upcoming. So already 1, 2, and 3. Create a one sheet. Again, done that. The one sheet is created. Done that. So all right, let me read this one. So it says create a new one sheet. This is a pivot from last month's goal of hosting or securing an event. I realized that in order to get those hosting gigs, I need the proper one sheet to send out to organizations. The plan is to email at least 20 organizations a day and pick a consistent day in the day each week to follow up with calls. That's a realistic, actionable approach I can stick with. So I'll say I give myself maybe a B on this one, because I have been reaching out to tons of organizations. I did create the one sheet, but the calls, making the follow-up calls, it's kind of a challenge as I'm, getting a new relation in a new situation. And, you kind of want to call the people based on who responded and make sure they're warm and all that kind of stuff. So I'm getting new contacts, yes, but it also can be improved. So as I'm thinking about Monday, I'll address that one as I move forward, and then gain one new Patreon member. This one has not been working out for me as much as I'd like it to be, but at the same time, the fact that it's available and the fact that my employee development workshops, like I was telling you yesterday, are now being geared towards a certain type of person, I could be in a situation where the Patreon having a Patreon membership could be that of me thinking too small, seeing that my mindset and my approach is kind of a little different based on what I've been learning from Alex Hormozi and all that kind of stuff. So that is kind of the point I'm making when it comes to setting these long-term and short-term goals. Is so much of it is not really just about me as a person. It's about how we grow as individuals, and exactly what you try to do, you fail at it, and then you are able to connect with the right people that keep you on track, so you're focusing on what's going to be best for the long term. And that's really where I want to get you to. So clarifying long-term personal and professional goals. All right, so let me see how I can break this one down, because there's a lot. I have a couple notes here, but there's a lot of personal examples that I can share. And I'm there's so many I could share, but I want to share the one that I think has been in my mind the most, seeing that he was actually out here. We didn't get a chance to connect because apparently, I guess he was feeling a little under the weather. But he's been one of my day ones, man. One of my day ones. Shout out to my boy Omar, man. We've seen a lot. We did a lot of work together. We became like brothers. And I was 19 years old when I met him. He and I tore my ACL, and I was working at a gym, and Omar was playing in Arena League football. And he was working at the same gym as a personal trainer, and we'd work out every single day together. You know, it's a story that I've told on multiple occasions, and he's actually been on the podcast. His the name of his episode is Business Mentorship. I believe it's in all caps. All right, so the story that I'm thinking about when it comes to understanding your long-term and personal goals, because he was somebody that, as I was looking to relocate to Florida, that I was working very closely with. And one of the things that I remember him mentioning to me as I was trying to get set up to come to Florida and, figure all that out. I knew I had to stay for the fall of 2016 because I made a commitment as a high school football coach. I made a commitment to them boys, and I wasn't just going to leave in the middle of the season, anything like that. But I had an opportunity to really talk to him about what relocating was all about. And the first thing he said was, look, the long-term planning is the easy part. It's how you make money in the short term to get you started and get you where it is you're trying to be, right? So he and his wife were just starting a business at that particular time. They were literally just starting the business that if I'm not mistaken, I think they're still running it. We didn't have a chance to catch up, but I'm pretty sure that, they've been doing well with it. At least last I heard, they were doing really well with it. And I was there when he had moved from his apartment. I think it was like a townhouse. It was like an apartment where they were like still renting, I believe. And he was able to get into a house. Now, there's a lot that comes with it, right? There was a lot that came with that understanding. There's a lot that came with it because I was there when his son, not his biological, but the son that. So he met his wife, and she had in my situation, they met, and she already had 2 kids. And that's why, I've been thinking about, his story and so much of the things that I learned from him as I'm, getting into my situation. But I remember having a conversation, and JJ, he was one of the, so I used to do a lot of NIL stuff last year. And the first athlete I did an NIL deal with was his stepson, JJ. So I remember when JJ had to be either in middle school or approaching middle school. It had to be somewhere around the 5th grade middle school range, where I had gotten to know JJ because, I just graduated and, I'm trying to kind of get established and all that. I mean, the energy on this kid, he's running around, playing a little basketball and all that. And to see him, grow, it's crazy to think about it. But I remember the little conversations that I would have with JJ, and JJ would say, yeah, man, we're going to be getting a house soon. We're going to be doing this, back when, like by the time they were starting to get a house, so when JJ would say like the kid version of just picture a young, middle school age kid talking about how his mom and his stepdad is going to be buying them a house and doing this, and we're going to be doing that. We could be doing, the ambition and thinking, and in the kid's mind thinking that, it's just gonna happen because that's the way kids are. That's the way, they develop. They just think that stuff just happens. They don't know what we as adults know, right? So it was not just rewarding for Omar when he moved into that house, but he doesn't know this, but it was incredibly motivating for me. It was incredibly motivating because this was literally like my last week or so in, like, I was out like last couple of weeks in Maryland, and I helped him move from his apartment to his house in, can't believe I'm blanking on these city names in Maryland now. It's what was it? It was God, I can't even remember where the city was right now, but it's not important. The bottom line is I knew him back when he met the kids, and then he had one more. This was when he had the baby Riley, and they moved into the house that I'm assuming that they're still currently in, right? So anyway, me and him were talking after he moved into the house and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, part of the goals now is, this was the first, well, let me not say that. He was talking in terms of this was the first time his wife was in a house, for her whole life. She's Guyanese, right? She's Guyanese. So she's Caribbean woman and kind of lived through some difficult situations, obviously, with kid's father and yada yada yada, a bunch of drama, right? But the fact that he was able to put his wife in a house, like an actual house that they own, and they were going to pay mortgage and be able to not just pay rent and stuff like that, that was something to him that became like a personal fulfillment. Like that was something to him that became like, okay, that is a goal that you probably would have never realized that it's an actual goal until you actually live through life and live through what a person lived through and merge and align and mesh this and mesh that. And I'm telling you that as a way of understanding the clarity, and as a way of understanding that even though first of all, just understand that every short-term goal you have is not going to be met. All right. Every short-term goal, every little thing. And I personally have had to learn this on my own. There's certain books that I'd be reading and then something else would come up and I would have to put that book down. Like I used to be that type of person that if I start a book, I'm going to finish the whole thing, even regardless of if it's applicable to my business or it's not. My mentality was, I'm going to finish the book. Or if I'm listening to a podcast, I'm going to finish the podcast episode before I jump to anything else. Or if I'm listening to an audio book, I'm going to finish the whole 4 or 5 hours of it. And then I'm going to move on because I have it in my head that I got to hit those short-term goals. And what I'm learning as I'm now developing and even just going through the week and, having conversations with my significant other, having conversations with my mom and, seeing my niece and seeing my aunt, seeing my sister come and when she was out here in Miami, it's important that you accept the fact that some short-term goals will not be met. It's totally fine. That is totally fine. It's the pursuing and it's the making sure you put it down on paper and you work with people. You're taking someone with you. That is what you need to be focusing on. All right. I'm not sitting here telling you, okay, don't hit any of your short-term goals. No, actually fight like a mother, fight your ass off to get them, but also understand it's about who's going with you on the journey. If you're not taking anyone with you on the journey, it is virtually, and I'm just telling you from experience, it is virtually impossible for you to actually set these short-term goals and hit them the way you would want to hit them. All right. And make it so you're at least, even if you're not hitting them, you're at least going in the right direction. Understand that directionally you have to get to a certain place. All right. The same thing I was telling you with the Patreon link. Let's go back real quick so I can show you. The goal was to get one new member in the Patreon community, right? But then if you go back and listen to what I spoke about here when I talked about what's the offer, hey, the development of my offer, the development of my employee development workshops may leave it so, hey, the Patreon thing may not be the best avenue towards me getting to the ideal client. And the ideal client is someone that's going to pay for multiple professional development workshops. Maybe that's not the thing that they want to do. Maybe they don't want to be in a Patreon group, right? And I wouldn't be thinking like that if someone didn't send me these books. Someone didn't send me not someone, but some, like my significant other did not, if she didn't send me this and I listened to it and I learned from it and I said, okay, let's focus on what the long-term goal is. The long-term goal is to make sure you have a group of business owners that are paying for multiple professional and employee development workshops. Maybe Patreon is not the thing. Let's listen. Let's more so focus on getting in front of those people and then making it something that is going to be sustaining us on the long term. That is the difference. All right. That is the difference. When you're merging your mission, you have to have a focused mindset. You have to know what it is you want, but also be very, very open to adjusting based on the intention of a person. All right. And I'll close you guys out with this concept, because intention is where it's all about. All right. Intention. I've said it on multiple occasions, and I'm currently living through the shit right now as we speak. All right. I'm living through it as we speak. There's nobody, and I will tell you from my heart, people do not leave organizations. All right. They don't. I mean, listen, there's great companies. Nowadays, especially nowadays, you can look up the perfect job for you, the perfect job description, the perfect organization for you to work with. What people do leave is they leave other people. They get to the point where other people are not in alignment. Their intentions are clearly not in alignment with your intentions. And you've busted your ass to get people to see things the way you see it, or get people to understand certain things the way you understand things. And when they don't want to listen, at that point, you just let it go. In fact, I'll tell you, just was it a couple of weeks ago, I was asked to give, we have this little thing that we do here at the school we used to do it. We haven't done it in a while, but it's called Gems and Gents. And these are elementary school kids. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So they're getting older. They're understanding that, hey, we're about to be in middle school, and this is South Florida. There's a lot of competition. This is South Florida. This is not a place in which where you don't see talented, and especially we're talking about athletics, just talented kids, talented people. And there's a lot of moolah, a lot of cash, a lot of people just putting their kids in situations, just setting them up from a trust fund standpoint. There's just a lot of competition in South Florida when you're growing up in this area. And I remember telling them something that my coach told me a long time ago. And I learned from my coach, and I learned as I got into coaching myself, is that when a coach is on you, like a coach, a teacher, educator, whatever, even a boss, and as you grow up, when they're on your ass, I mean on you, like every little thing you do, they're like, get up here, run this, do this. Or like, man, when they're on you, dude, like, even in my own household that I grew up in, when my father and my mother were on me, did you do your homework? What you get on your test? I mean, the minute you walk through that door, you better be ready. Better be ready. When they're on you, it means that they care. That means that they love you. It means that there's something positive happening. Now, it's when they ignore you. And this was the message that I kind of gave to the kids that day. And I remember saying that to them, and it's actually coming true. And all that stuff is like really kind of coming to light, is when we start ignoring you, when we start literally not giving AF, all right, and just moving on to the next recruit. That's when you worry. When folks who are in leadership positions stop caring, that's when you worry. That's when you see that's on the screen. There's a long-term plan that's in place, and they've met another individual. And I'm not talking just like I'm going to keep reiterating this, because it doesn't just have to be romantic. They just met other people that can get them closer to their long-term goals. And who's ever in the short term that didn't take advantage, that didn't want to listen to them in the short term, they're moving on. That's when you worry, because at that point, a person has lost they've lost their patience. They found another way. It's almost like a person who's drowning. All right. Picture a person that's drowning. I'll close you out with this image. If a person's drowning and they're struggling, they're trying to figure out a way to get a breath. They're trying to figure out a way to get from underwater, and they see some light, they see something, and they're able to just breathe. That's what happens. When you're drowning in a situation and you're able to figure out a way to get a breath, you're going to just go. You're not going to think about it. You're not going to stay in this drowning position. You're going to just figure out a way to get to the next breath. And when you have made it so you are drowning a person and a person feels like they're suffocating, literally suffocating under, and this was like the way I felt when I was in college, man, because I had so many ideas and so many things I wanted to do, and I had so many experiences. Like when a person is suffocating in a sea of mediocrity, when a person is suffocating, big, strong, ambitious minds, ambitious people that want to conquer all this shit, and you're suffering around a group of people who just are mediocre. They're okay with the mediocre. They're okay with the status quo. They're okay with just hanging, just being okay. That's a suffocating thing. But when that person who was suffocating, they find breath in sales, right? They find air, they find a way to breathe, they're out of there. They're out of there. I can talk to you about experience after experience after experience in terms of, hey, when you are suffocating and you find your breath, get up out of there. All right. So that's pretty much today's recap. Tomorrow we're gonna talk more like we do every Friday, faith-based Friday. I'm not sure. I'm kind of scrimmaging some ideas in terms of, in fact, I might just go with this one because I wrote it down. Proactive problem solvers. So I'm scrimmaging some ideas in terms of what we're going to be talking about in terms of a theme next week as we get into our last official week of April. And man, it's moving fast. It's moving fast. So I hope you're taking advantage of it. Hope you are really recognizing how quick life moves, and you just don't have the time. You don't have the time to be wasted. All right. So all that being said, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into everything. I'm laughing at this text message. The next, geez, that kind of threw me off. So yeah, like I said, main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I'm doing. It's makeyourmove.com. That's makeyaMove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As you can see there, you can book me to speak, you can shop, or you can even get yourself an employee development right there. Just get in contact with me to figure out how we can collab on some things. All right. So everyone out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.